Hello and welcome to the Trak Racer GT series live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Daniel Leet, Scott Newton operating the cameras tonight, and we are here for one of the final rounds of the championship. It is Spa, and Daniel, usually this would be a pretty ordinary round. It's Spa, similar to other big Grand Prix circuits like Silverstone and Kota and Monza. But in this series of very alternative tracks, lots of national circuits being used, it's quite unusual to be back to one of these big boy circuits, but it's very happy to be back here.
Yeah, good evening, Sam, and everyone tuning in. Great to have you back for what is, I believe, second to last race of the championship. So we're nearly at the end of this one. It's been a pretty dominant display already, but from Rochelle, but great to be back on a bigger style circuit. This one's going to provide a huge amount of drafting opportunities for the guys. The cars are very evenly paced. Just looking through the qualifying times that we saw just prior to the session going live tonight. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the guys utilise the draft, what opportunities they can get through, but it's going to be a tricky one for them out there tonight.
Yeah, it sure is. We should have some tight racing. And similar to AOSC, it's pretty remarkable that this level of domination from a team and from a driver is rather rare, and it's happening twice in AOSC with James Scott and Logitech out to Esports, and of course this series with Ross Vizet and Trak Esports. It is pretty remarkable that they have been able to win all the races so far this season. But this circuit perhaps an opportunity for others to get in play. As you're saying, Daniel, the slipstream effect is going to be pretty strong. We think that the championship's all but sealed for Vizet. I think as long as he finishes tonight, he should be all right, because you get one drop score for your sprint rounds. And so what Vizet will be planning on is just to finish here, get a decent amount of points, maybe a top 10. And then that will mean that even if he does dreadfully in round 12, he's got such a good drop score to spare that he can use that instead. So this will pretty much mathematically confirm for Vizet as long as he can finish the race. Which will be great news for him. I'm just wondering, Daniel, maybe if the BMW is going to be a dangerous car around this circuit, however. Of course, strong down the straights, we believe, is the BMW pretty drivable as well. That could be dangerous. And we've also seen some good progress being made by the drivers in the C8 as well. I mean, Craig Edwards, particularly in recent times, has really closed that gap to the Trak Esports guys. So it certainly could still be a competitive round of the championship, even if the overall championship is pretty much decided.
Yeah, absolutely. The C8 looking really competitive tonight. We're actually going to see Craig Edwards taking the pole tonight in the C8, so he's done a stellar job. The Ford's up there again. Not the usual Ford we'd expect to see at the front row, however, so we'll wait for that one to come through. The BMW is looking really good. Trent Thomas, the quickest in the BMWs. He'll be out of 6th tonight as well, so they're looking pretty good. The Porsche just suffering a little bit.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. So it's Craig Edwards then on pole position, Byron Phillips in 2nd place. There's Nathan Harper's Ross Vizet down in 4th. He's been so good in qualifying recently, but not great in qualifying this time. Still dangerous though from 4th. He has won races from lower down than that. Then it is Martin Crisp, Trent Thomas, Tom Hagen going for the amateur championship, the pro championship. There's Chris Pellet, Lee Vandenberg, good to see him back. Timothy Phoeben down in 10th, but watch out for him. Steve Janssen lines up in 11th. There's Adrian Vlog, Amanda Dalton, good qualifying for her. Jesse Butler, Michael Whiting, James Foster, John Puce, Hayden Smith, Blake Delaney, Christopher Hughes, Aaron Specchier, Scott Sislowski, Adam Gardner, Paul Warwick, Miles Burgess, Adam Hughes, Shane Bourne, Scott Forsyth, Kevin McCartan, and Kester Mack. Because Kester and Justin are the two stewards as the driver starts moving away from the grid. And we are very soon going to be underway for this penultimate round of the championship. Got to be careful into the source though, Daniel, because that's always a place where you'll have a driver going in deep on the inside, and that could cause disaster for everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge braking zone and an opportunity for a lot of these guys to try and squeeze through one or two positions where they can. So no doubt the rule book will have been read by this race control, letting everyone know just obviously be cautious, get through this first lap cleanly, and then get on with business once you get down the Camel Straight.
Absolutely. So it's Craig Edwards then from the pole position. Is he going to be able to keep the lead off this start?
Really great jump from everyone there to get going through that one. Looks like Craig Edwards, awesome job, managed to gain a hefty gap now over Byron Phillips. Ross Rizzo just tucks in on the back of Nathan Huppert. So everyone else looks to have got through turn one exceptionally well. We've already got a bit of 2 and 3 wide running down the back of the Camel Straight here. So guys already looking for those quick opportunities while the tyres are cold.
Yeah, strong start for Edwards. Crisp just holding on there as well, a little bit of 2 wide going into Lake Coombe, as alongside in contact for Huppert. And he's in right in the middle of the circuit. This could be a big one, and there's a lot of drivers round on the run to down the hill, and we might need a safety car. Oh, and there's still cars in the middle of the circuit. That was just one car going round, and then on the racing line, and everyone else had to really take massive action around, and surely that will be a safety car for the guys, because yeah, that was a messy start. After getting through what most would call the trouble zones, we then had that incident, I believe, between Huppert and maybe Rizzo. I'm sure we'll get a replay of it soon, but that has spelt disaster for many drivers down the field. We'll get a proper rundown of who was involved in that at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, it had a huge amount of guys. I think I also saw Byron Phillips off towards the front. Remember, he was running in second position there. So I think he might have been involved in it along with Huppert, which is what initially caused it. We have Steve Jansen in it, Chris Pallett, Tim Pheeman. The Mach 1 car was up, perched precariously up on another car there. So those guys well down the back of the order, and hopefully they'll get those cars back, get that pit repair done, and be underway with hopefully not too much damage. You see Trent Thomas looking at a move down into the chicane there on Martin Crisp, not quite close enough to get that one done, but he's going to be careful because Tom Huggin is not that far behind another one of the XRC Fords.
Yeah, of course, Crisp and Huggin, the top 2 in the Pro Championship at the moment. It is Huggin with the advantage in that, but it would be possible for Chris to make that up. He has beaten Huggin in the last couple of rounds, albeit by just 1 or 2 places in each one. And the way that the point system works, even if you do finish 1 place ahead, even if that's the difference between first and second, you don't gain a whole lot of points necessarily. And so you kind of need to put a few cars between yourself and your rival if you are going to make up that those points. As Thomas in the BMW goes down the inside. Formula race winner this season on a post sport, and he is up into 3rd position. Good move there. This is what you usually see with the XRC drivers dropping down. Certainly Crisp usually drops down, maybe Huggin moves up through the order, and it is now Edwards, Rizzo and Thomas occupying the top places.
Yeah, a bit of a late run there from Trak to get that car down the inside, but nicely pulled up on the brakes and gains that extra spot through. Specchio doing a pretty good job at the moment. He's gained 6 as a result of that earlier lap 1 carnage. He's got Adam Hughes right in front of him. Stephen McCartan just behind as well for Crisscross Racing. So these guys have all managed to find their way up quite a few positions. The big losers so far off lap 1, Michael Whiting down 6, Byron Phillips, who we saw involved in that contact with Nathan Huppert. They're both down 20 spots respectively. Blake Delaney's been involved in it, Chris Pallett, Steve Jansen, Tim Pheeman, Hayden Smith, and we believe James Foster has also towed back to the pits as well, and won't take any further part in this one tonight.
So we might get a replay of the incident from the first lap. So this was certainly the start, and Edwards was immediately away. Huppert's had strong starts as well, and then that was Phillips just going down the inside. Was there a little bit of contact initially through the source anyway? But Phillips did get back past, but then of course with this long run down or long run up, Rouge and Radion left him very vulnerable going into late game.
Yeah, it looks like the initial phase through that was all really good to see Rizzo getting through, or actually Martin Crisp trying to get amongst the mix as well. So Rizzo having to go very defensive down into the braking zone, which I don't think we saw Rizzo getting through. No, was able to close off. But Byron Phillips with a big lose through the initial turn-in phase, and that's what looks to have set this one off. So he's dropped the wheel there, Hup's gone around the outside, and then just being picked up as the cars were trying to rotate their way through. Carnage at the back of the pack, pretty impressive, must be said. Amanda Dalton was a big one in all that as well. We mentioned, or didn't mention her getting involved in that. She is also in the pit lane along with Shane Bowen, both getting repairs early on.
Yeah, Nathan Huppert's, I think, managed to get away without actually having to tow back to the pits. I think he just drove back to the pits, and then when we got a fast track, it's not a very long pit lane, that you cut turn 1, so actually going down the pit lane doesn't lose you too much time. It's maybe a 10 to 15 second loss rather than the 20 seconds we usually see around other circuits. So you can stay and play very close if you have to tow back to the pits around a long circuit like this. That will lose you quite a bit of time. As a guard that, on the tail of Hughes, you've got Burgess just behind, you've got Byron Phillips a bit out of position, just behind these guys in 18th as well. He's another 2 seconds back. Also 2 seconds between the top two, Edwards versus Rizzo. I feel like, Daniel, Edwards has been waiting for this opportunity all season long. I mean, usually Rizzo just doesn't let him off the leash, but at least Edwards has got a little bit of a gap here. And he needs to just try to keep this up, because usually it's Rizzo out-qualifying Edwards by 10th and then getting ahead and then having some strategy to his advantage. But if Edwards can keep him out of draft range in this first stint, it will be tricky for Rizzo to get past him. Edwards might finally get his hands on a race win this season, even though he's been clearly the second best driver of this championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking at the lap times just gone by, Rizzo 2/10 quicker, which is pretty ominous signs already to think that he's going to be able to close that gap down the run up down the Camel Straight. Pretty even, 1.6 behind, so well out of draft range at that point. But with a big thing that's going to help the Corvettes at the moment, they're a little bit lighter on the balance of performance, only 18 kilos on board those cars compared to the Fords of 24. So you see Chris now returning serve on Trent Thomas, and he'll get that move just about held off and actually clears them nicely. So good racing between those guys a little further down the field for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I thought Thomas would be off down the road, but instead Chris coming back, and also that Ford seems to be good down the straights. Maybe I was wrong about the BMW being the fastest car down the straights. Maybe it is actually the Ford, because it seems like whenever we've seen it, it seems to be pulling away from everything else. The Porsche is also very strong. Though we got the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship later on Apex Racing TV. That will be on at 20 GMT. Was a brilliant first round at Daytona, second round at Silverstone. Apparently the Porsche has about half a second of an advantage. Obviously in this race we've got fixed setup, and so it's not so pronounced. Yeah, maybe the Porsche with the side advantage, but looking at the results, it is not totally clear from this race, as Delaney pulls off a lovely move round P1. It's not necessarily usually an overtaking place, and when it is, it usually doesn't go too well, but that was a nice move. With Forsyth and Pellet battling behind, might be able to make a big point.
Yeah, definitely a really nice run through there. Throughout the testing, I was able to get in earlier in the week. The Porsche felt really, really good underfoot. You get a long run time out of the tyres. It seemed to sit there quite comfortably and not really lose too much performance. But the trickiest thing was trying to get the passing done with the draft. About 5 or 6 laps sitting behind those guys, just pressuring them into a move. Hoping for the best there. Michael Whiting up on screen at the moment, coming back after that earlier lap 1 contact. A little bit of damage on that rear wing. He's got Nathan Huppert's now right in behind, and Huppert's actually going to peel off and head for the lane to get his one and only stop out of the way early on.
I feel like I should know the rules by now, because I have been commentating in the last season and a half, but can they put unlimited fuel into the car? They can. I think they can pit on a part, so you can go to the end of the race pretty easily. Can't you?
Well, in the endurance format, yes, it's a maximum fuel of 100% fuel capacity allowed for the 45 minutes. Tank size is only 65%, so we're 10 minutes in, 35 minutes to go. It should be mathematically capable at this point in time for Hups to get through. The hard part's not going to be having that draft to help save that little bit of fuel as you go around, but he's going to come out in beautifully clear track, and we should see some quick numbers from that Fusion Sim Racing car.
Yeah, so he's pretty much pitted as early as he can, so if it's 65%, then should be able to go a bit more than probably about 40 minutes, and we've got 35 minutes to go. So yeah, that's probably the wise thing to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Adrian Block does the same thing, because that car is a little bit damaged on the nose, and around a circle like that, this is going to lose you time as Hughes moves up to 8th place. We haven't talked too much about the rookies doing so well, so but Hughes up in 9th, trying to battle for 8th, and also John Hughes as well up there. I'll get the points up for the rookie championship, because that one is going down to the wire as they're still alongside. Got to be careful, guys. There's some big points available, particularly Hughes, who's going for that rookie championship, and all that battling for a handful of corners has put Hughes within tow range. And also Scott Zaslowski, who is a former podium sitter in this series. He is chasing them down as well. I think Zaslowski got a podium a couple of weeks ago, as Trent Thomas is into the pits. And as we got to contact between the two rookie drivers, it's Hughes and Puce, and that was Puce going into the back of Hughes. Now he's redressed that one, so he might escape too much penalty, but that could be big for the rookie championship, and that will lose them a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the number one golden rule is you don't take out your teammates there. I think Puce might have already had a bit of a slowdown for running extremely wide through that final corner. Just not able to get the Ford pulled up in time, and a little bit of contact on the back end. Was able to redress throughout what we've seen in this championship so far. Even with the redress, there is some form of penalty that will still be handed out, so we'll wait to see what goes through there. Huggin about to lose a spot to Lee Vandenberg. Great to see Lee back in this one. We haven't seen him for a few events, and looking pretty much at home at the moment in that Mach 1 Esports BMW.
Yeah, we're always practicing a couple of kind of best. The rest is Lee Vandenberg. I can't recall him winning a race, but he probably has, to be fair. He probably has won a race a season or two back, because maybe not this season. It's been a small pool of drivers who have won races, only 3 of them, plus all Trak Esports drivers, albeit Edwards can make it a 4th tonight. But certainly in previous seasons, it's kind of been a different winner every single meeting with the safety cars. It's been absolutely craziness this season, certainly the least crazy, albeit still very entertaining. So I'm sure he has picked up a win along the way, Vandenberg, but still 4th place would be one of his best results of the season. There's no doubt. Now he's not far behind Crisp either, and Huggin, interestingly, not keeping up with Crisp. It does seem like Crisp has improved this season. I think he's possibly the most improved driver this season. It's been weird, I would say, the fact that we've seen particularly XRC in the form of Crisp more than anyone else, but also Trak Esports making such improvements in this championship, Daniel, because there's this fixed setup. It's not so you pick something with the setup and all of a sudden your way, but those teams have seemingly gained about half a second on the competition from last season to this season. It is very rare to see that big a change.
Yeah, they've really stepped up. I think obviously we had fixed setup last season as well, and I think just with the changes that have come through prior to the start of this season, obviously the inclusion of the C8, it's really changed the style of the cars and how pointy they are and how they're sort of set up. So for all the guys that went out in pre-season, did a little bit of testing, they found what works for them, and for Rizzo and Trak Esports, the Ford has been a fantastic car for those guys. It's obviously working very well. Don't take anything away from the other guys running the different cars out there, but looks exceptionally well. I think the biggest surprise has been just how long it's taken for guys to get to grips with the C8, for instance. We've seen Fusion Sim Racing campaign that car all season. Only up until the last few events have they really started to find what makes that car tick for him with this setup and get the most out of it. And we're already seeing that tonight with former Craig Edwards well out in front at the moment. And it's also leading to some fantastic battling. We see in the mid-pack here between 3 different manufacturers. We've got the Porsche, the Corvette and the BMW all scrapping down over this 16th spot, and absolutely nothing between them at this point.
Yeah, they've done a brilliant job of the organisers once again for making this balance of performance, tweaking it on week on week. But yeah, done a really good job. Just checking in on the championship order, and going into this round, Rizzo had a big lead. I mean, 300 points over Craig Edwards. I mean, can say how many points there. I don't quite understand the point scoring system, to be honest, because it seems to start at 500 points and it goes down by about 5 points each time, and so like last place still gets like, or not last place. Yeah, but like 20th place will still get like 450 points. So I don't fully understand it, but Rizzo is on 5,500 points. Edwards is on 5,200 points, basically. So that's the gap when you take into consideration the drop score. So that one's certainly pretty certain. Huggan and Crisp doing brilliantly 3rd and 4th overall in the championship, and they're not even elite drivers, they're pro drivers. And there's about 100 points between those two. So Crisp would need to heavily outscore Huggan in order to catch up to him. And then Jesse Butler leading the way easily in the amateur championship, albeit not doing so well tonight, but he's pretty much got that one sewn up. But then in the rookie championship, that's the closest one. So you've got Christopher Hughes and Paul Warwick going for the championship. That one, also John Hughes with still an outside chance. And Warwick, interestingly, has scored many more points than Hughes, but because of the drop score, Hughes is ahead in the championship, but only by about 70 points at the moment. Hughes is outscoring as Hughes goes ahead of Sislowski. So he's putting more cars now between him and his championship rival. Yeah, certainly keep an eye out on Hughes and Warwick. Warwick really needs to try to outscore Hughes if he possibly can tonight. Otherwise, he'll need to rely on some misfortune for his rival in the last round of the championship.
Absolutely. McCartan just hovering around the top 10 at the moment, currently sitting in 12th position. He's got Gardner and Warwick just scrapping for it. I'm a little surprised to see Gardner just taking his time to get this move done on the rookie driver, but not wanting to damage that car early on in the event. But these guys are all looking pretty racy at the moment, and really good driving for Paul Warwick, just holding the line, making it incredibly difficult as guys work their way through the chicane. We'll see whether Gardner's able to get anything as they work their way up towards the back straight or not, but these cars are very, very evenly matched. We did see a quick little race control issue pop up there. See if we can look at that again, but one of the guys going through for a netcode issue, so should be no issues going on from there. But it's a really interesting spot here, watching Gardner not able to really close in too much on the Porsche. Similarly for McCartan behind, not able to gain any advantage in the C8, but he's going to find himself now under attack from Bradley Hughes. You can just see it in the back of frame on the little reverse camera as well. So these guys all racing for absolute everything they can as Sislowski now in the pits.
Some early pit stops tonight, aren't there? I'm surprised, because usually we see the vast majority of drivers just leave it as long as possible, try to get to kind of the, well, around this pace it'll probably be about 30 minutes that the drivers would be able to reach with the high fuel consumption. But yeah, I'm surprised that so many drivers are coming to pits early. I don't think Sislowski had any damage, he had a decent pace, so yeah, opting in. Where does he come out of the pits? Is he, well, he's behind Trent Thomas. Has Trent Thomas pitted yet? Yeah, Trent Thomas pitted on lap 5. He's going to the end. So Trent Thomas might actually be, well, he's a long way clear of Sislowski as well, isn't he? Similar pit stop times. So I think Thomas is effectively 3rd place still. Because he was battling with Crisp beforehand, wasn't he? So Thomas has had some good pace, and look at him, he's all by himself at the moment. He's got 8 seconds up to Blake Delaney, and then after that he's got another 5 seconds to McCartan. So this strategy for Thomas, that early pit stop, seems to have worked pretty well. There you can see all the drivers who have made pit stops. So it's actually interesting, only just ahead of Adrian Block. And like I said, it wasn't a long pit stop or anything, but I thought Sasaki was further up the road as they make contact, and that was actually Burgess and Phillips. And that will be a big slowdown for Burgess now. We'll have to let that position go.
Yeah, a little bit of side-to-side contact between both of those cars as well. I don't know what led to that one, and it's continuing on as they go down towards No Name. So that's definitely going to catch the attention of race control there.
Oh, Burgess is up into the gravel as well now. That was a bit aggressive, wasn't it? A little bit too aggressive. Here's Huppets, and he is onto the back of Hughes. Both these guys have pitted, albeit Hughes pitted on lap. He pitted on lap 1. No, they both pitted. They can both go to the end. Steve Jansen may not get to the end, just ahead of them because he pitted on lap 1. I assume for repairs they are a minute off the lead though. These drivers at the moment. That's Huppets lines this one up. Always have the difficulty of approaching Blanchemont, which isn't really an overtaking place. And Huppets seemingly trying to get the inside, but it's best just to stay behind. Pick up a 1x if you have to on the outside. The drivers will get penalties if they pick up too many of those off tracks. And now Huppets will go for a move into the final chicane, but on that occasion he wasn't close enough.
Yeah, this is looking pretty handy for Huppets. We should see him go for a move down the inside into turn 1. See, I think that might have been Byron Phillips just flicking off into the back of the pits there. So he's going to get his stop out of the way, but there is also potential that there could be a drive-through or some form of a penalty following that side-to-side contact that we just saw before with, I think it was Scott Fice. So we'll see how that one unfolds as Huppet continues to work his way through. Not going to get through that at the moment. Vlock, on the other hand, right over the back of Sislowski, actually going to get through well and truly before the braking zone. So the Ford with a huge amount of straight line pace at the moment. Sislowski's not going to give it up, and another little bit of side to side in that same spot before a lap to go.
Well, and he comes back on fast there. Was Block. I think that was Sislowski's fault for forcing Block off, albeit you got a question whether Block could have used a bit more of the brake pedal when he was off the track rather than so much of the throttle, because he came barreling back on. Will be very interesting to see what the stewards think of this one. You can understand why Block is frustrated, because he's pulled up a good move here. He's ahead, and then Sislowski goes in too deep, force him off. But maybe that will be an unsafe rejoin. Not sure.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one to call. Love to be a fly on the wall in race control. Just have a listen to how they decide on that one, but certainly going to be interesting to see which way they decide to rule on that one. Jesse Butler had a pretty uneventful night so far tonight, up 1 spot already. Has come down the lane for his compulsory stop as well. And then he's got the recovering Steve Jansen right behind as well in the Porsche right behind. And those two very equal on pace at the moment. If anything, I think Jansen was marginally quicker by about 0.3 last time by. So this could be a pretty interesting little scrap starting to heat up here.
Once you stay in the 1 second area, you just count drop, and you see the DRS boards around here as well. None of that, and yeah, it is extremely close, nonetheless. Interesting. There was one down the pit straight. Is that one down the pit straight normally? I think there is. Yeah, there is. I think there is. Of course, this place being scanned back in 2010. So it's pretty old, and of course this second will be getting some renovations, some gravel traps being added at Radion, and also Pouon as well. Particularly Pouon will be a fantastic addition, and also a change to No Name Corner as well, as Butler moves past, and that's a little bit more like it. I think Block will have too much to complain about that one, and is Butler up into 12th. But yeah, No Name coming up. I think it's going to turn left a little bit earlier than it does at the moment, so that they can extend the runoff area on the outside. So it'll probably just start to the left a little bit quicker, and then will not go down here. As you can imagine, on a motorcycle, if you drop it there, then you're going to head into the tyre barrier, but no, it'll be pretty cool to have the bikes around here. Once again, those renovation expected to take a few years.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that's going to change the layout of the circuit and the dynamic and flow that we do see with the current configuration. I think that'll really spice things up. Whether or not iRacing gets a chance to get back there anytime soon to rescan that once that work is done, that'll be very interesting, and I'm sure everyone would really love an opportunity to race on the newly refurbed circuit. Gardner at the moment doing a pretty solid job. He's got Steve Carton still behind these guys, a little further down probably than where they'd really like to be. We know we've seen Gardner well up towards the front in many races that he's contested so far over the course of these championships, but just struggling a little bit tonight, down in 16th, and a lot of work left for him to do if he wants to start closing the gap to the guys in front. He's got Scott Sislowski up the road about 1.3 seconds, so a little bit of work to do if he wants to close that gap down. As Elgin Janssen off at in the chicane there.
Driving penalty for 8.46 as Janssen, who pitted on the first lap, he's now coming in for his pit stop. So yeah, we didn't think he could get to the end, and that has proven to be the case. So it's actually Byron Phillips then who's got the penalty, and that was for a collision with Miles Burgess. So that was down the hill into the right-hander, and it was Burgess who was on the outside, I believe, on that occasion. I mean, to be fair, it lasted a few corners, so the stewards would have looked through that footage and looked from many different angles to decide that one. Look at that. That is incredible. Edwards and Rizzo, two guys at the peak of their power. Two very strong drivers. Not sure if they could... I know the definition of what is a pro driver is maybe a bit arbitrary, to be honest, but these guys are seriously quick. This is a competitive series, and when you are setting lap times that consistently, that's unreal. And of course, the lap times, the reason why they're getting a bit faster is because the fuel is going down. So don't think of them as being inconsistent. They are absolutely getting everything out as Edwards and Rizzo into the pits, and that's good news for Edwards that Rizzo couldn't force that extra lap. It just takes one variable out of the mix, and now they've got to make sure that they put in the exact right amounts of fuel, because if Rizzo comes out of the pits within a second of Edwards, then he'll be within draft range. He'll be able to drag himself up. And of course, on the other hand, if Edwards can open that gap back up to 2 seconds, it'll be very tricky for Rizzo to come back in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye on the stationary times as well, because that'll be really telling to see just the state of play as to whether Rizzo's taken more or less fuel in those stops, as well as we've got our top 9 now in the lane. As you see, Delaney now working his way up, still staying out for another lap. So the mileage in the Fishing Motorsports Porsche looking pretty handy at the moment. But look, 1 and 2 are back on track, and actually marginally in favour there of Craig Edwards. It's a slightly slower time, 4/10 quicker pit stop time than what we saw from Rizzo. So a 12.35 plays a 12.75 for both of those two cars. And yeah, Rizzo not seemingly making any inroads at this point.
But interestingly, yeah, he was 4/10 faster was Edwards through pit road, but he was only 1/10 faster in the box. So he must have nailed the pit entry or the pit exit, carried a little bit more speed, and that has helped him to... Well, it hasn't really opened up the gap, because it was 1.3 before, maybe it's 1.4 now, but it's pretty much the same. So not bad news for Rizzo by any means. Of course, the pit entry here, I mean, that's just, you know, recording from the pit entry line to the pit exit line. You've got so much more around Spa than that. You know, when you get into the pit, it is so narrow. Gain a little bit of time on the exit as well is the same. This is remarkably close, and I believe all these drivers have come into the pits. We've only got Blake Delaney who hasn't come into the pits so far in this race, as McCartan moves past Hughes, and Delaney has dropped down. He was doing well, yet to come into the pits is Delaney, and did he miss his pit box? No, he's back underway now for Fishing Motorsports, but he's just had a spin seemingly.
Yeah, he had a big moment. I just saw that also pop up. So the back end of the Porsche looping its way around. He's kept it off the barriers, which is good to see, but has dropped a huge amount of spots as a result of that. Here's a look at the onboard just to see what happened, and quick reflexes to try and catch it, but just the back had already gone around that a little bit too far, and luckily was able to keep it off the walls. A little bit of damage on that left front from an earlier incident, but he will get back underway. We should see him in the pits this time by, and that will actually then complete all our pit stops for the entire field.
Yes, that will be everyone. So yeah, the field really not going far around here, is it? I mean, usually you can go over half an hour, but yeah, 28, 29 minutes, the extent that the trials can go today. Yeah, so Thomas and the lady in. Thomas has already pitted. Yeah, he pitted on that 5, didn't he, Trent Thomas? So I'm surprised that he's had to pit again. Maybe he didn't have enough fuel after all to get to the end of the race. So shame for him. He will, yeah, drop well down the order. Meanwhile, we've got Crisp under pressure from Berg. So Crisp managed to keep the position during the pit stops. Now got Sasaki well behind 11th place. Sasaki, something happening to him. But Crisp holding on to that place at the moment in 3rd. But I think we need to go back to that big train of cars led by Specchio. But they've all got the draft of one another, so I don't think anyone's going to be able to make a move. But Specchio taking a defensive line into Lake Human, that's going to hold them all up and just going to make this train even more compact down the order. This one going back to... I was going to go back to Christopher Hughes, as that was slightly wide there for Block, and Butler will move past, and Trent Thomas will also move past. Sorry, Scott Sasaki will also move past. So yeah, nice move there.
Yeah, I almost thought Jesse Butler might have made a little bit of a meal of that on the run through the braking zone off the Camel Straight there. We saw just how much Specchio had gone defensive. It really compromised his initial run into the chicane there. I thought Jesse might have got just a slight little tap on the back of Ford there, but able to pull it up. But he did compromise himself a little bit in doing that. And he's going to have to be careful to see if Trent Thomas looking very, very good now that he has come back out after that second run through the lane that we saw. And yeah, he's well in contention here to have a move on them. Adam Gardner will just sit on the back of this train and utilise the draft. Hopefully he's able to save a little bit of fuel as well. He can turn it up a little bit more to complete this one.
Did Thomas come into the pits? I'm really confused now because I don't think he lost any time. Unless maybe they had a drive-through? I don't know. But it's not coming up on our screens as a pit stop. Oh, look at that. There is Trent Thomas going down the inside. But yeah, I'm confused what happened to Trent Thomas. I swear we saw him go down the pits, and yet he's still in 9th place. But he's all over the back of Butler. There you go. He will probably make this one down the inside into the source. Oh no! And that was slow for one of the XRC cars. And it spelt disaster for Butler, who could do nothing about that one. He was being nice and conservative, letting Thomas go, as Vandenberg can't get past. And also McCartan and Gardner are having problems. It was really close going into Eau Rouge, just before we pulled away to see Crisp defending from Lee Vandenberg. But absolute craziness just for a moment there, and that was so unlucky for the driver who got involved in that. As we see what happened to Aaron Specchio. I'm not even sure if he... Well, of course, this was how it all started. Went in too deep, lost the car, and then nowhere for the others to go.
Yeah, so Specchio's had a small little lose there, and then we've seen everyone pile in behind. There was also a secondary issue there, if we could hang with that, which we might not be able to do, for Adam Gardner as well. He's dropped well down the timing scoring board following the run-up through Eau Rouge, so not sure what happened to him through that, but it was that little half spin there for Filippo that cost all those guys and backed the whole train up. We did see Butler involved in that. He's found his way into the wall. So hopefully he's able to recover that car and get back going. But yeah, really not sure then later on what happened to Tim Feeble. We've got another car stopped out on circuit as well in 25th. Is that Gardner still?
Butler.
Actually, Butler now stationary. So potential we may even see a safety car here, the first one of the night, which if that is the case, would definitely shake things up. But I believe he might have got a toe to pit.
Yeah, so he's go back to the pit, so that might be a safety car, but they still seem to be going full speed, don't they? Not sure if Edwards would like a safety car. He would take up a lap. No, actually he wouldn't, because he's got this one. He's got half a hand on the winner's trophy. 1.6 seconds. He's been able to open up the gap half a tenth of a second faster that last time round. He's having to work so hard right now, Edwards. Would love to have a chat with him post-race, because this will mean a lot to him. He's won many races in this series. He's won at least one championship in this series as well. But to finally beat Rizzo in a straight fight, you know, he had to get it done in qualifying. There's been nothing fortunate about this, and he's had the pace to keep Rizzo behind. It seems as though maybe as this race goes on, he's had the pace to keep that arm's distance length. You can see that one poor lap for Rizzo, 3/10 of a second like this is not big, but that was just on the out lap. But since then, he has just edged away as Craig Edwards. It's looking like Fusion Sim Racing are going to get their first race win of the season, back with this big pack. And a lot of damage on Sosowski's car, who has had a turbulent race, because he was battling with Crisp earlier on, I believe. A lot has happened. It's been tricky to keep track of everyone. It seems like these Trick Esports cars just make my mind go blank, because I thought Chentoros came into the pits, and then I'm not sure if he did come into the pits. And same with Sosowski, because he was well up there, and now he's a long way down the order, unfortunately for Scott, but he's trying to recover. He's got the rookie driver on John Hughes to get past. Still, Christopher Hughes doing very well up in 6th place, and actually with a comfortable gap to the others. And so Hughes will be taking a huge step closer to that rookie championship if he can hang on to this place. Yeah, as long as he beats Dworak, you know, that's a success for him.
Yeah, absolutely, and we should be able to see that one go through. Penalty involving Specchio, and that no further contact, so racing will continue on there. No harm, no foul. Chris Hughes, though, doing a really good job. Lap pace has been very good still in this car, as the tyres getting on in their lifespan at the moment. Hasn't really dropped too much, and yeah, since we've seen that pit stop come through, he's got the car nicely back down into the 213s, which is kind of the expected race pace we were thinking we'd see from a lot of these guys, maybe into the 12s if they get into a good draft, but hasn't really got involved in too much, and this will be a nice haul of points for him.
Yeah, it would be his best result of the season, I believe. To go back to Pellet and Delaney. Delaney had an issue earlier on as well, didn't he? I think he did.
Yeah, correct. Delaney, we saw have that moment through the midsection of the track there, lost it, kept it off the barrier, and was able to get back going. And fortunate for him, he's come out in a relatively good spot there. It's a good opportunity for him to try and get through on Chris Pallett, see whether he's able to do so. But both these two looking pretty racy at the moment.
The 750 has got a post-race penalty. Adam Gardner is that one, for contact with the 666 of McCartan. He's still doing worse, McCartan, to be fair, in 13th place. So, yeah, penalty and post-race. So, I wonder if that'll be applied to his final. Usually they do time penalties in this series if that's a post-race. Could also mean that he maybe gets a grid drop for the next meeting. I think they can manipulate the grid. I mean, we might actually have a replay of how this one happens. This was at the kind of for 13th and 14th. In fact, I think this is just a different one. This is with Adam Hughes for Right Sim Racing bouncing along. But yeah, we'll try to bring you that Gardner in just a moment.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that might have been that issue we saw for Gardner at the run-up through Arouge. Just watching him come out of the lane. Oh, actually, yeah, it was at the top of the hill, so he's had a pretty hefty moment with someone there.
They're all back together again.
Yeah, this train of 5 not really separated much at all over the course of this run. We did see that little incident for Specchio, which sort of broke the pack apart a little bit. They all come back together now, and Paul Warwick closing back in now on Aaron Specchio. Sizlowski has managed to get through on McCartan as well, and he's going to try and range up on the back of these guys.
So Huggen right onto the back of Crispinberg then. Reminder that Huggen leads the Pro Championship by about 100 points. Oh, McCartan and Warwick. Warwick, that's big for the Rookie Championship. Warwick needs as many points as he can, and he's not going to be getting many of them. And this might just be the Rookie Championship going to Christopher Hughes at the moment. Warwick down to 16th now. Sizlowski trying to get past Hughes. Hughes up into 11th position now. But yeah, that was McCartan and Warwick battling. But so yeah, just what I was going to say about Crisp and Huggen. Remember, Crisp with a championship, Huggen with a championship lead over Crisp, and Crisp needs to outscore him quite significantly. He has outscored him at the last 2 meetings. I think he beat him by 1 place at Motegi and 2 places at Okayama. It looks like it'll be 1 or 2 places again today, which just isn't enough points. Huggen frustratingly consistent, despite the fact that that Crisp was putting everything into these performances, consistently finishing in the top 5 positions recently. But so if he could get a podium here, he will be pleased with that as we move into the last 4 minutes of the race, 4.5 minutes of the race. And actually in the lead, it's closed up. It's 1 second now, the gap between the top 2. And you'll see that relative is just coming down a little bit. And there's a waft of a draft here. And for the first time in this race, the gap drops below a second. Edwards just losing a little bit of time in recent laps after seemingly pulling away before that.
Yeah, we just see it on the lap times down below there. Rizzo has been able to gain marginally here. He's took 2/10 2 laps ago, a 10th last time by, so really starting to close in. I wonder for Edwards, and we didn't really touch on it too much in the pre-race, Sam, but incident limit is going to be a big one. We know how difficult, how easy it is to get those 1x points around this circuit, and I wonder potentially, is this what we're starting to see a few of these guys just getting in amongst those 1x's? Could potentially start slowing them back just a fraction and not wanting to cause any issues. But that gap stabilised just a fraction now. Edwards has been able to respond. It's back out to 1.2. So C8 hasn't really lost any pace. He's just picking and choosing when to apply the pressure.
He picks up 1 quite happily right there. But you could well be right. Usually these top drivers are the best at keeping it within the white lines. I always dislike it whenever Brundle says the best drivers will keep it between the white lines, because I don't think there's that much correlation in real life. But in the sim world, I think usually they're just a bit more responsible at the top drivers. Albeit it should be added that they're battling less. So when you're around drivers, you're going to be picking up more. Edwards may have picked up a few. We have seen him track extend quite a bit so far today, but he's got the gap back up to 1.2 seconds. Did lose some time. It seems like the first half of the lap, Rizzo has the advantage. Maybe he's got a faster car down the straights. We have been talking about how fast the Ford is down the straights, and then maybe in the corners, Edwards has a little bit of relief. Did seem to be the case that last lap. Rizzo was actually 4/10 faster through the first sector on that last lap, so that seems to be where his strength lies. McCartan, after that incident, still doing well. In 13th, he's got Michael Whiting just ahead of him. Whiting doing well to get back up to those top positions in the Fishy Motorsports car. And of course, he is 2nd place as Michael Whiting in the amateur championship. Just Butler is going to be taking that championship, all but certainly. But that's performance for Whiting to consolidate that 2nd place in the championship.
Yeah, let's not forget Fisher Motorsports did take the championship last season as well, in the form of Josh Thomas, and unfortunately we haven't seen Josh out this season, but he drove a fantastic event last season, and for Fisher Motorsports, these guys are really starting to come back to the forefront again, and Whiting leading the charge for them at the moment, and looking pretty comfortable in that car at the moment, must be said, as the battle for third starts to really heat up. Lee Vandenberg on Tom Huggins. So it's the battle for fourth, and they've actually lost a lot of time at the moment to Martin. Chris, remember we saw Vandenberg only a lap or two ago right on the door of Martin there. So don't know what's happened for him there, but finds himself in a huge amount of trouble now between himself and Tom Huggins.
Well, they've come together in the second sector of this lap. There's 5 sectors, and I believe they've come together at Les Combes and lost 1.8 seconds, according to the timing screen. So that's let Crisp get away. But clearly they must have gone alongside into Les Combes, collided, and maybe had to skate across the grass, as they are just going to be able to force one more lap in, and that could cause some surprise for the drivers further down. We made it with about 8 seconds to go, didn't we? Probably 10 seconds, because iRacing does have a little bit of leeway. Usually you will get the extra lap, even if it's within a couple of seconds. 0.8 of a second actually between the top two, but Rizzo looking like he's a bit too far behind, as Specchio and Whiting. Is that Whiting just moving past Specchio? He's had a strong second half to this race, so he's now leading that amateur category. Specchio will try to respond. He of course had that spin a few laps ago, didn't he? And somehow that car is still in decent shape, but he's losing a bunch of places now. He's lost about 3 places in 2 places in one go. As here comes Hagen, and this is for some crucial championship points. Can Berg stay up the inside? They came together at this corner on the last lap, but this time it is the XRC car who moves ahead. And Tom Hagen, Pro Championship leader, makes a crucial move there and stays within 1 place of his teammate Martin Crisp.
Yeah, doing a really good job. This battle for the lead is really starting to heat up. We saw Ross Rizzo with his personal best and race best last time by 12.45, was able to cut the advantage down to 6/10. It's gained a little bit over the latter half of this lap, but certainly not much between either of these two. It's been a fantastic drive so far for Craig Edwards, and he's really held firm against the pressure that's been applied from Rizzo tonight.
Yeah, he's had to wait a while for this one. Edwards has driven so well this season, but on countless occasions he's just been bettered by a 10th or 2 of pace. But today he has had the pace. He got pole position. He got a fantastic start, opened the gap to 2 seconds, and he's held on ever since. And for the first time this season, we aren't going to see a Chick Esports car on the top step of the podium. It is Craig Edwards on the top step of the podium, and he finally ends the domination for Chick Esports and Ross Rizzo. Hagen will get 4th place surely. Oh, there's a spin for Berg, and he will still be able to finish in 5th place. He's got a big gap back to Christopher Hughes. That's not quite the end of the race that he wanted. Chris wins out in the Pro Championship, and it's not every day that you see this. A rookie driver, Christopher Hughes, who will finish in 6th position, as a huge effort from the 108. He got through that first lap unscathed, and he did brilliantly after that. Puce is very slow, and it's not a particularly long run to the line. Is Whiting going to be able to take this one? I think Whiting, I'll say that was Hughes and Puce. So Puce was slow, but Puce holds on by 7/100ths of a second right at the end, as the others crossed the line as well. It was some fantastic battling around that 10th position throughout the event. Just got a few more guys to come through, but Rizzo pretty much has this championship won now with the drop score. Of course, he may have already had it won, to be fair, in the first place, Daniel, but I think today belongs to Craig Edwards, working so hard for that race win all season long. I think it's been 6 race wins in a row as well for Rizzo, and finally Edwards managed to get to the top step of the podium, and he'll be glad to have that one ticked off for this season 12.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a stellar drive there for Craig Edwards and Fusion Sim Racing, and probably the team that we most thought would get the opportunity to break through the dominance that Trick Esports have had so far this season. And it's fantastic to see what Craig has been able to do tonight. A great result for not himself, but the setup work that's gone in with the C8 behind the scenes for the race organisers. And this is a fantastic win for himself. Martin Cripps doing a stellar job as well, gets himself back up to the podium also. So for the top three, it was a fantastic drive for all of them. One thing we do have to quickly give also is a quick shout out to Paul Warwick. I think we did it on the AOSC event on Friday, but happy birthday, Paul, for your birthday. Birthday week, birthday month. I'm sure the team will look after you as well at Fishy Motorsports there. So
Yeah, hopefully he's having a good weekend as we can go through the final standings for this penultimate round of the Championship, round 11 of the season. Yeah, it's everyone across the line. Yeah, so it is Craig Edwards who wins out for Fusion Sim Racing. 8 tenths to second clear of Ross Rizzo. Martin Crisp finishes third. There was Tom Hagen. Lee Vandenberg, Christopher Hughes. That's a very colourful top 6, isn't it? Trent Thomas finishes in 7th place. Now it's Nathan Hubbard. John Pusey with his best result ever in the series, I believe, in 9th. Then it was Adam Hughes in 10th. Behind that was Michael Whiting, Stefan McCartson, Scott Seslowski, Aaron Specchier, Scott Forsyth, Paul Warwick, Blake Delaney, Adrian Vlock was in 18th. And 19th was Steve Janssen. 20th was Timothy Beeben. Behind that was Chris Pellett, Shane Bowen, Miles Burgess, Amanda Dalton, Adam Gardner, Jesse Butler, Byron Phillips, Hayden Smith, James Foster, and that's everyone. Kester Mack. I didn't get any laps in the safety car. There were 2 occasions where I really thought we were going to have a safety car, to be honest, but we didn't get one because we had the first lap, obviously, which was craziness. And then we also had a car stopped as well later on in the race, but no safety car being deemed. We kept green for the whole race. So, interviews with the drivers, and it is a pleasure to bring up Craig Edwards, who has got his first race win of the season. Congratulations, Craig. That one, you've won a lot of races in this championship, but that one must feel particularly sweet to finally get the upper hand on Ross.
Yeah, blessed relief, mate. Blessed relief. It's been a tough season, being almost there, almost on the top step, and falling short a whole bunch of times. Yeah, so to hold Ross off, who was coming at me hard towards the end of both of the stints, was very satisfying, I have to say.
Your lap times were extremely consistent. You two seemed very evenly matched. I mean, was there? How pleased were you with your consistency? Were you really running on the edge there? Was there really anything more that you could get out of the car?
No, that was 10 tenths every lap. And it was quite interesting to watch how the Delta moved over the lap between the Ford and the Corvette. I was picking up maybe nearly 3 tenths through the middle of the circuit, but at the bus stop and last source, it would be 3 tenths the other way. So every time I'm thinking, I'm getting away, I come out of last source and it's exactly the same gap, and I'm like, what do I have to do? But thankfully, never got close enough to mount a full-scale attack, so managed to hold him off.
Seemed like after the pit stop you were extending the gap slightly. You got up to about 1.7 seconds, and then all of a sudden for the first time you were losing 2 tenths a lap. I mean, shock horror. What a huge gap around a cycle like this. 2 tenths where Ross was catching up to you. I mean, can you pinpoint why that was? Do you think that was, just maybe a couple of not ideal laps? Was that Ross getting a bit faster? Was that the tyres? Because you then managed to even it out right at the end and maintain the gap by about 9 tenths to the finish.
Yeah, I think once it gets down to about a second, there's some dirty air, which probably slowed Ross down. But we've seen throughout the season that the Corvette is pretty good right at the start, but then it sits on a single pace. So I was doing, I think, 12 sixes nearly the whole way through. And the Ford, on the other hand, maybe doesn't quite get up to pace as fast as the Corvette, but it continues to get quicker throughout the stint. So which is why Ross could get more of an attack. But yeah, like I said, it gets blunted. Once you get to about 1 second behind, it's really hard to go through those high-speed corners with the aero wash.
Yeah, I can certainly imagine. And then one more round of the championship to go. Is the pressure off then for that round? Because Ross would have needed to retire, I think, from both rounds to not win the championship. So I think the championship's off the cards. Now you got your race win, so a bit of fun for the last round of the meeting. Round of the season.
Yeah, I think, obviously Ross being champion-elect, good job on him. But I think similarly, my gap to third place is probably too big that a drop round doesn't change it anyway. So yeah, pressure completely off, and to get that one win for the season, it's just the real weight off the shoulders, monkey off the back, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Best of luck for next time, Craig. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yep, big thanks to my team, Fusion Sim Racing, and our wonderful partners, simrigs.com, Psychonic Solutions, Eclipse Signage, Daryl Carter Plastering, and our new partner, Bowler Media.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us in the interview room, and we'll see you back for the last round of the championship.
Thank you very much, Sam.
So that was Craig Edwards, finally a race winner this season for Fusion Sim Racing. Daniel, we've got a couple of choices. Who are you going to have a chat with next?
Well, let's bring up our second place finisher tonight. Ross Rizzo, congratulations on a fantastic drive, mate, in the Ford tonight. Come from fourth up to second. A little bit different for proceedings tonight, not speaking with Sam, which is a little different.
Yeah, I mean, the streak had to come to an end at some point, right? And, Craig, every time I've seen Craig at this racetrack, he's phenomenal. So, full congrats to Craig. It's great to see the Corvette get up as well. So it took all season, but hey, it's finally happened, and I'll gladly take P2 after what an incredible race that was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from looking from our point of view and from Sam and my point of view, it seemed like two distinct parts of the circuit where the Ford was very good through the opening phase of the lap. The Corvette maybe a little better through the latter half of the lap. We saw, obviously, second to last lap, you mounted a fairly solid chart, went personal best and race best lap time. Were you thinking that might have been your final chance to get up there and maybe have a crack at the end?
Well, look, my main goal was to get within a second so I could get the draft and then go from there, because it was going to have to be some kind of wild draft battle because the cars were so even. So that was the focus, that it took far too long to get there. I mean, we even got 47 minutes rather than the 45 to get there, and I didn't quite make it happen. But yeah, I did notice the Ford was good at the slower corners, of which there are like 3 at this track, and Craig was just hooking through the middle part of the lap, and he was taking risks. So I could see he was using all the track and he was giving it everything. So I was kind of waiting for a mistake if he misjudged it, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. Next week, we're off to Zolder, a very different circuit again, which has kind of been the real theme of this season. It's not always just big GP layouts. We've seen a lot of circuits we're not used to. Zolder probably going to be a little more in the favour of the Ford then, based on what you're saying with the point and shoot aspect of that car. How do you think it's going to handle around that circuit?
I have no idea. I think what you said is right. The Ford should be quite handy through there, but it's a track we don't use often. It's a track we don't visit often. I can't remember the last time I drove on it. It definitely was not in a GT car. So look, I'm really keen to see what's going to happen. I mean, we'll probably see the Porsche have a good crack. I don't know. I think it'll be a really exciting end to the season. So I think Zolder's a really good track for that.
Absolutely, mate. Well, congratulations on a fantastic drive tonight. You would have loved to have got that one step further, but fantastic drive nonetheless. And obviously, you've put it all together throughout the course of the season. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and thanks to?
First of all, big and quick congratulations to Craig and Fusion Sim Racing on finally picking up the W and breaking through, and to the boys at Trak Esports, Trak Custom Fabrications, and Pro Sim Gear, and to the guys at AMF, Track Racer, Akuta, and to you guys at Apex Racing TV. Thanks very much.
No worries, mate. Again, congratulations on the fantastic drive, and look forward to hopefully having another chat with you next time out at Zolder.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Spizzo there, your second place finisher, and we're finally going to have a chat with Martin Crisp, who managed to finish in third position. Congratulations, Martin, you're making a habit of these podiums.
Hey Sam, how you doing? First of all, congrats to Craig. So happy to see him get that monkey off his back. That's awesome for him. He certainly deserved to take a win, so good for him. but yeah, this is fun being talking to you guys again 2 weeks in a row.
Definitely. I would like to talk to you though about the Pro Championship because Tom has been a real pain recently because you've been driving perfectly, getting these third places, fourth places, fifth places, and yet he's always 1 or 2 places behind you, and you just can't make up any points. It must be annoying to you beat him in I think 3 races in a row, and yet you've barely dented his championship lead.
Yeah, I mean, my first 3 races, I think I lost 250 or 280 points to him because they were horrible 3 races for me. And then all the races since then, I think I've taken the vast majority of them. Maybe 1, I think he got from me, but I've only gained like 20, 30 points maybe total out of the 280 that I lost in the first 3 races. So, yeah, mathematically, there's no way I can catch him at this point. I told him before the race, I said, you need to finish 22nd or worse, and I need to be 6th or better for me to have a chance. So anyway, it's my teammate. I'm really happy for him, and he's just super consistent. Last year, he was our top finisher on our team, and he's going to do that again this year. So congrats to Tommy. He really drives really, really well.
I was saying earlier on how it's kind of weird from last season to this season how much progress Trak Esports have made, but also how much progress you guys have made. Because I mean, last season, you in particular were kind of battling for kind of maybe top 10s, but this season it seems to have got a lot better. I mean, are you able to put your finger on why you've been able to move up through the order so much?
I think it's really just the competition within our team that we practice during the week, and I think that just allows us to push each other. And we compare our data against each other and see where one person's quicker than the other, which helps. And I think just as a team, we've collectively helped each other get faster by doing that. And that's what I would say. I don't think it's anything any one driver is doing. I think it's just a team effort and the way we work together, which is what XRC is all about.
Absolutely. Well, we've got 1 more round of the championship to go at Zolder. Is that a circuit that you got much experience around?
I'd never driven Zolder. I'm a little nervous about it. So we'll see. I think Tommy and Simo have done it in F3s, I think. Oh, no, actually, I think I have driven it. I did a practice once at Zolder. But anyway, I don't know the track, and I got to learn it. But hey, it's just another track, and we'll figure it out. It's
a good one. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm certainly a fan of it. So best of luck for that one, Martin.
Thanks, mate.
Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, my teammates at XRC. Thanks, guys, for a great season. And our sponsors, LearnSetup.com, where you can learn how to create your own setups. Trak Racer for sim racing gear, and SimCore for the lovely wheels and dashes that we have.
Awesome. Well, once again, thanks for having a chat with us, and we'll see you back for round 12 of the series.
Thanks, Sam and Daniel. Appreciate it.
Martin Crisp there for XRC Racing, your 3rd place finisher. They're getting another podium under his belt. 1 more round of the championship to go. Again, in the championships, it's looking pretty sorted now. So Ross Rizzo, effectively your elites champion and your overall champion. Martin was very much downplaying his chances in the Pro Championship. I think Tom, again, there, but looking very strong. Seeing that his drop score is not too bad. Actually, no, it's looking pretty good. And then Jesse Butler looking very good in the Amateur Championship. And Christopher Hughes with that strong 6th place finish today, looking good in the Rookie Championship. So the last round of the season, Daniel, with all these series effectively decided. I think the Teams Championship still needs to be decided between Trak Esports and XRC, to be fair. But certainly in the Drivers' Championships, with this season pretty much sorted for most of the drivers, that Zolder round could be really unpredictable, because that's a circuit that the drivers haven't got much experience around. You really don't visit it very often in GTE cars, because multi-class racing doesn't really work around there particularly well. And so I think we could see a bit of a mixed up order for that final round of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, traditionally it's probably more of a GT3 type circuit or small club level type event, but it's going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, the grip and power that the GTE cars have that we're running this season will really test that circuit out, really put everyone in a good stead. It's going to be interesting to see how the guys look at taking, I think, following on from what Ross was saying with the Ford being a very good point-and-shoot car, and the nature of that circuit, it's really going to help him, especially through some of the slow corners. And we've got 3 short, tough chicanes, a hairpin to throw in there as well, some really off-camber style corners that the guys are going to have to negotiate. So the Ford could potentially be really good. I'd love to see a surprise manufacturer up the front end. Will we potentially see a Ferrari in there? We didn't see it tonight, but we could, and that would be great to see. But it's going to be an awesome way to conclude what has been a fantastic championship.
It really will be. I quite like Zola, quite a unique circuit with the curbs and kind of the cambered corners as well. Won't be easy to overtake, but it should be good fun. Before we leave you, big thanks to all the sponsors for the championship for making this series possible, making the broadcast possible as well, because I believe this is free to enter for drivers, and so it's these sponsors who bring you this broadcast. So big thanks to Trak Racer in particular. This is the Trak Racer GT series after all, and if you're looking to upgrade your rig, Trak Racer is the place to go. Got some really nice stuff. If you're upgrading to a direct drive wheel in particular, go over to Trak Racer. They got lots of equipment over there, so whatever you need for your sim racing rig, Trak Racer is the place to go. Thanks to Acuta, safety and height equipment. So if you're looking to do some DIY, if you maybe got a business, go to Acuta. They also sponsor the AOSC Super Series as well, so big thanks to them for their support of various sim racing series. Also thanks to Race Management Service as well for helping us set up these sessions, because without them we couldn't have the pre-qualifying where we have 2 different splits, and that software makes that possible, and also a little bit easier to set up all the sessions as well. So they do a fantastic job at Race Management Service, and also thanks to Black Wolf Graphics as well for their support of the championship. We'll be back with you next week then on Apex Racing TV for the final round of the season. Don't fret too much, because we'll have season 14 starting pretty soon. There's barely a winter break, maybe like 1 week off during the winter, but this one carries on for a while. But we will have a break week after next week. But yeah, the season finale coming up next week at Zolder, and we'll be able to crown all our season 13 champions at the conclusion of that 45-minute race. From me, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Daniel Leet, and from Scott Newton, it is finally Craig Edwards on the top step of the podium. Can you repeat it next time out at Zolder? We will see you then.